Stepney, the Bluebell engine, loves running along the special railway, which was known as the Bluebell Railway. And the passengers would cheer louder for him than any diesel on the mainland. But the one place Stepney likes to be more is on the island of Sodor. It gives him a good long run and a chance to see his old friends and even make new friends. Early one evening, during one of Stepney's visits, the Fat Controller had a special job for him. But Stepney was a little worried. He had never been to Hawin Lake before. But luckily, Henry was in the yard. He knew all about the station by the lake and happily gave Stepney directions. Henry shuddered, remembering his incident at the lake, and even Stepney shivered as well, remembering his own incident in the fog. Old Bailey was the station master at Hawin Lake. He used to be a fogman, but he was made station master after saving Henry and his crew from a nasty accident. He was a loyal, dedicated worker who kept his station in working order and made sure everyone, either it would be people or engines, had a lovely visit. He was pleased to see Stepney arrive with his passengers later that night. Old Bailey was right. As Stepney left the station, the fog came down thick and fast. Soon, the Bluebell engine backed into the old siding. The shed was old and kind of scruffy, but Stepney knew it was better than getting lost in the fog again. His driver and fireman tucked him away, nice and safely, then went to bed in a nearby cottage. Once they were gone, Stepney was all alone on the empty siding. Or so he thought. The owl hooted indignantly. Why did everyone always blame him when the fog came down? Soon, Stepney was to enjoy a peaceful night's sleep. But then, all of a sudden, no one replied, and Stepney couldn't see anything or anyone in the fog. But then, that strange whistle rang out again, and it echoed over the hills and through the valley. Stepney's driver and fireman ran up. Soon, Stepney slowly and carefully made his way through the fog towards the station. And as he approached the clearing, he looked towards the station and gasped. Sitting in the crossing was the shadow of an engine, along with 3 branch line coaches with passengers inside them. Cautiously, Stepney crept forward, towards the gate. The engine said nothing, and it didn't even seem to recognise Stepney. Stepney felt a chill in his boiler. As he looked closely at the engine, it didn't seem to have a driver, and its once brilliant industrial paint was all rusted. And there was even a name, written on the engine's side tanks, but it was so dark that Stepney could barely read it. Stepney was shocked by what just happened, but before he could process everything. At last, Stepney's wheels were unfroze, and he ran back to look for the loop. Soon, Stepney had turned around and was rushing towards the crashing sounds. He was only hoping that the engine and his passengers were all right as he plunged through the fog towards the ravine. But as Stepney emerged from the mist, there was no engine, but instead there was old Bailey looking over the ravine. Stepney said no more. He just puffed back away to his shed, leaving old Bailey to think in peace. The next night, Stepney told the other engines about his encounter. Tilly and Carol were speechless, while Gordon and James thought of it as utter nonsense, but Henry looked especially uncomfortable. Stepney wished he had too. Now, whenever he visits Sodor, he takes care not to visit Hawin Lake at night, ever again, unless he received another encounter with the ghost of Sheffield. And every year, on the night of his tragic death in 1950, he runs again as a warning to others, plunging into the ravine, shrieking like a lost soul.